Hello everybody, my name is Julian, and today we're going to be talking about blended learning and the flipped classroom. To begin, let's talk briefly about blended learning. Blended learning is a formal education program in which a student learns at least in part through online delivery of content and instruction with some element of teacher intervention and instruction. Blended learning uses digital learning tools within the classroom setting where students are face to face with their teacher and peers. Blended learning can encompass just maybe one or two digital tools, but it can encompass a whole wide array of technologies, courses, and resources. Unlike e-learning classes where students are not in a traditional classroom with their teacher in classrooms, blended learning allows the students to go home and work online. Now, what are the pros of blended learning? It involves higher order thinking. It focuses on the individual. Focuses on each individual student's needs. It allows for a fun and an engaging classroom environment. It integrates technology within the classroom. It is used as a time-shifting tool, allowing the students to allowing the teacher to teach the students longer than intended, since the students have to go home, go online on the internet, and do the homework. What are the negatives, though? It is difficult to make the resources online interesting and engaging for the students. In some cases, teachers use videos to engage their students into the subject matter. However, these videos are very educational and very boring, and that is a downfall. Online instruction does put some kids who do not have internet at a disadvantage. There are lots of kids who cannot afford to have internet, and as a teacher, you have to be careful about integrating something like this. Um, Whether you like it or not, the lecturing style is always a poor mode of teaching young minds. When the students go home and do their work and they come into class to discuss what they just learned, you are lecturing to them, and that is always a poor way to teach young minds. And there is always room for lack of student participation. Students may just not do it or come into class and not participate whatsoever. It's hard to get the students engaged, and that is something that teachers today need to be concerned about. Now let's talk about flipped classroom or flipped teaching. Flipped classroom is a form of blended learning in which students and teachers switch roles with themselves. They learn also through online content, since it is a form of blended learning, by watching video lectures, usually at home, and what used to be assigned homework, it is now done in class with the teachers and students, discussing and solving questions more personalized than, you know, doing an assignment at home. By the students being able to go home and read the material, have a better understanding, do it themselves, come into class, discuss it more, and do assignments then, it is a lot easier for students to learn. Flipped classroom is also known as the backwards classroom, the inverted classroom, reverse teaching, and the Thayer method. So let's talk a little bit more about flipped classrooms. Flipped classrooms is a model in which a typical lecture of homework elements are, of course, are reversed. So, for example, um, at the university level, students are required to read something from subject matter beforehand, and when they come to class, they are presented with a lecture that discusses more in depth about that subject. And then they're given assignments that they go and do home and do homework. That is a traditional way of teaching. The flipped classroom, what happens is basically just flipping those things around. So what happens is um, the teacher's lecture is and notes and materials and references and videos and things like that are all presented to the student before class. The student is allowed to look at them, read them, do further reading for themselves, and when they come to class, then they talk more in depth about it. and the teacher is not as much lecturing to them as they are discussing and working on problems together. It is more engaging for the students because who wants to sit through a class, a 3-hour lecture, you know? It is very boring. How does it work? There is no single model for a flipped classroom. The term is just widely used to describe the online interactive elements of the flipped classroom. In a common model, students might view multiple lectures of 5 to 7 minutes each, or quizzes and activities of a few minutes each, or several videos of something each, you know? And then when they come to class, the teacher, they'll discuss about the video or the game they played or something like that. And they learn it in that capacity. But what are the downsides of a flipped classroom? The flipped classroom is a very easy model to get wrong. It is not well defined yet. It is gaining a lot of popularity though. But teachers need to be careful when they're introducing flipped classrooms because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. For example, what if the teacher does not have the required skills to operate such an online course? There's a higher learning curve for the teacher. Recording the lectures takes time and effort. Coming up with these materials, developing that website, that online resource, it takes a lot of time and effort, and it can be messed up, and it can cause lots of problems and lots of stress for the students and their learning. So I'm gonna post a bunch of in the description below. I'm going to list several online resources in which, if you guys are interested, you can go look at them yourselves and learn a little bit more about online learning, flipped classroom and blended learning. There's several links there. Go ahead and click on them. They're all great. They have lots of great resources for teachers and people who just want to learn more. Thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next week I'll be posting a video that's going to talk a little bit more in depth on the teaching of one. If you guys are interested in that, it's gonna develop to teach you guys how to create a flipped activity. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great day.